There's a silent force shaping your life every single day. It's not your intelligence. It's not your background. It's not even the opportunities you've been given. It's the energy you carry, the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you move through the world. That energy is either attracting the life you want or repelling it. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. Success isn't something that randomly shows up at your doorstep. It's not a product of luck or timing or talent alone. Success is attracted. It's pulled toward people who think with clarity, feel with purpose, and act with conviction. That's the essence of the law of attraction, not wishful thinking, but intentional living. Not waiting for something to change, but becoming the kind of person who invites change to happen. This isn't about magic. It's not about sitting still and hoping life will reward you for dreaming. It's about alignment. When your beliefs, your emotions, your habits, and your environment are all aligned with the future you want, you become a magnet for success. You stop chasing. You start resonating. And everything around you begins to shift, not because the world has changed, but because you have. In this message, we're not just going to talk about the law of attraction. We're going to break it down into principles you can live by. Principles that will challenge you to rethink how you see yourself, how you move, and what you allow into your life. This isn't a lecture. It's a mirror. Because the life you want isn't found out there. It's built in here. When people talk about success, they often jump straight to methods. They want blueprints, life hacks, and secret formulas. They believe that success is about having the right steps in the right order. And while execution matters, what precedes execution is far more powerful. It's belief. Belief is the soil from which every meaningful result grows. The law of attraction isn't about wishful thinking. It's not about sitting on the couch and visualizing a Ferrari until it shows up in your driveway. That's a cartoonish version of a very real psychological and emotional principle. The law of attraction is, at its core, about alignment, about matching your inner reality with the outer one you're trying to create. But that alignment starts with one fundamental piece, what you believe to be possible. Think about the most successful people you know, not just the ones with wealth or fame, but those who lead fulfilling lives, who build meaningful relationships, who seem to live with purpose. You'll notice they all share something in common, a deep, unshakable belief that they can. They believe they're capable, worthy, and destined to make a difference. And because they believe that, they behave accordingly. Here's the irony: most people sabotage themselves before they ever begin. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack intelligence, but because deep down they don't truly believe success is for them. They want it, yes, they admire it, even envy it, but they don't see it as attainable for someone like them. And that belief, or rather that lack of belief, quietly shapes their decisions, their habits, their language, and their emotional state. When you don't believe something is possible, your brain looks for evidence to confirm it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You avoid risks, dismiss opportunities, and hesitate in key moments. Not because you consciously don't want success, but because your subconscious doesn't think it's safe or likely. That's the trap. And that's where belief becomes the foundation of everything. The law of attraction begins where belief begins. When you truly believe success is possible for you, not just conceptually, but emotionally, you start attracting it in subtle but powerful ways. Your posture changes. Your tone of voice shifts. You treat yourself with more respect. You speak differently in meetings. You walk into rooms with more certainty. You carry an energy that others can feel. And energy is contagious. People respond to it. They trust it. They want to be around it. Opportunities have a way of gravitating toward those who already act as if they belong. Not with arrogance, but with grounded congruence, but with grounded confidence. That's the power of belief. It creates a frequency that draws matching experiences into your life. This isn't metaphysics. It's neuroscience. The brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly scanning the environment and shaping your behavior based on what it expects. If you expect to fail, your brain limits your actions to protect you from pain. But if you expect to win, not in a naive way, but in a sincere, grounded way, your brain shifts into a different gear. It becomes creative, it becomes bold. It finds solutions instead of excuses. Belief also influences what you notice. Two people can walk into the same room and see entirely different things. One sees obstacles, the other sees possibilities. One sees threats, the other sees challenges. One sees scarcity, the other sees potential. The difference? Belief. What you believe filters what you see, and what you see determines what you do. When you start from belief, strategy becomes secondary. Yes, the steps still matter. Yes, you'll need discipline, planning, and persistence. But the spark that ignites the whole process is belief. Without it, you'll abandon the path at the first sign of friction. With it, you'll persist through obstacles, not because the path is easy, but because the destination is worth it. The question to ask yourself is not just, what do I want? But what do I truly believe is possible for me? Because your answer to that question is the blueprint for your future. If your belief system says success is reserved for others, people with more money, more connections, more charisma, then no amount of ambition will override that inner limitation. You'll always play small to stay safe. But if your belief system says success is within reach, that you are not only capable but called to step into your potential, then everything changes. There's a reason people feel lost in life. It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they don't want more. It's because they haven't defined what more looks like. When your vision is unclear, your direction becomes inconsistent. And when your direction is inconsistent, your outcomes are unpredictable. You can't attract success if you don't know what success looks like for you. The law of attraction operates not just on energy, but on intention. Intention needs specificity. It's not enough to say, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy. Those statements are vague. They carry no emotional weight, no pull, no urgency. The brain doesn't move toward foggy outcomes. It moves toward clarity. Imagine trying to use a GPS without entering a destination. The system might show you roads, even your current location, but it won't give you a road. That's what life feels like when your vision isn't defined. You're in motion, but there's no momentum. You're busy, but not productive. You're working, but without direction. People often mistake activity for achievement. They get caught in cycles of doing, checking boxes, following routines, but never stopping to ask if those routines are taking them somewhere meaningful. And the truth is, if you don't set your own vision, you'll end up living out someone else's. You'll follow the crowd, chase superficial rewards, and wonder why fulfillment keeps slipping through your fingers. Clarity of vision isn't about predicting the future. It's about deciding who you want to become and what kind of life aligns with that identity. It's about imagining a future that excites you, then working backward to figure out the thoughts, emotions, and actions that person embody today. It's about locking in on a picture of your highest self and letting that picture guide your choices. When you articulate your vision with detail, something powerful happens. You activate your reticular activating system. It's a part of your brain that filters information based on what you deem important. If your vision is to build a business that impacts lives, suddenly you'll notice articles, conversations, and ideas that relate to that goal. It's not that they just appeared, it's that you're finally tuned in. This is where the law of attraction comes alive. Because once you know exactly what you want, your entire being starts to shift. Your mindset adjusts. Your words become more intentional. Your habits become more aligned. And that alignment begins to send out a signal and energy that draws the right people, the right opportunities, and the right timing into your life. Clarity also provides resilience. When you know where you're going, you're less likely to get knocked off course by distraction or rejection. You stop chasing shiny objects. You stop comparing yourself to others. You start operating with a sense of purpose. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're creating it. But clarity isn't passive. You don't find your vision while waiting. You discover it through reflection, through curiosity, through asking difficult questions. What kind of impact do you want to make? What would make you proud, not just successful? What legacy do you want to leave? These aren't easy questions, but they're the ones that matter. A vague goal like, I want to be rich, carries no emotional charge. But a clear vision like, I want to build generational wealth so I can free my family from financial stress and fund schools in underserved communities becomes a mission. That mission creates focus. And that focus is magnetic. You don't have to know every detail of the path, but you need a North Star. Something that helps you measure your decisions. Something that keeps you centered when the path gets hard. Without a vision, every obstacle feels like a reason to quit. But with a vision, every obstacle becomes part of the process. People don't rise to success by accident. They rise because they have a destination in mind. They may not know the exact route, but they've committed to a direction. And that commitment changes how they speak, how they show up, how they invest their time and energy. It becomes their compass. Vision isn't about the ego. It's about contribution. It's about becoming someone who brings value to others. When your vision is connected to something bigger than yourself, it has staying power. It pulls you through doubt and distraction, becomes a source of fuel, not just a far-off dream. There's a fundamental misunderstanding about thoughts. Most people believe thoughts are harmless, just mental noise, easily ignored or pushed aside. But thoughts are not neutral. They are seeds. And every seed contains the blueprint for a future outcome. The thoughts you allow to take root in your mind are the ones that shape your identity, and your identity becomes the foundation of everything you attract. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. That's the cornerstone of the law of attraction that most people miss. Wanting something is a start, but it's not enough, because wanting exists on the surface. Identity lives in the core. Your reality is not the result of your desires. It's the result of what you believe about yourself, over and over again, until those beliefs become your operating system. Think about the thoughts that pass through your mind on a daily basis. Are they empowering or limiting? Are they expansive or restrictive? Do they speak to your potential or your fears? Most people are unaware of the quiet, consistent thoughts and shape their self-perception. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve success, or that kind of life is for other people. These ideas might feel small or subtle, but repeated daily, they begin to rewire your brain and eventually your behavior. Your mind is always listening. It doesn't distinguish between a thought you say jokingly and one you mean sincerely. If you think in defeat, speak in doubt, and expect rejection, your identity conforms to that pattern. And once your identity is shaped, your actions follow suit. You'll make decisions from a place of insecurity, approach opportunities with hesitation, and sabotage progress just to stay consistent with the person you've told yourself you are. But the opposite is also true. When your thoughts are intentional, when you choose beliefs that serve your growth, your identity begins to shift. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes ownership, someone who creates, someone who leads, impacts, and inspires. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you decide that your inner world matters just as much, if not more, than your outer world. Identity is powerful because it governs behavior subconsciously. A person who sees themselves as disciplined doesn't have to argue with themselves every morning to wake up early. They just do it because it aligns with who they believe they are. A person who identifies as a leader naturally steps up in tough situations. A person who sees themselves as a creator won't hesitate to build, to innovate, to try again after failing. So, when we talk about the law of attraction, the question isn't just, what do you want? The deeper question is, who do you need to become in order to naturally attract that life? Because when your identity and your desire are aligned, the path becomes smoother. You don't have to force things into place. You attract them by default because you've become someone who expects the kind of success. And expectation is magnetic. This is why affirmations matter. Not because they're magic spells, but because they train your brain to think new thoughts long enough for them to feel familiar. And familiarity is how the brain defines truth. If you tell yourself, I am confident, every day, at first it may feel false. But if you persist, if you speak it, feel it, and begin to act on it, your brain starts to adjust. Over time, I am confident stops being a phrase and starts being a fact. But none of this works without consistency. You can't feed your mind-empowering thoughts once a week and expect transformation. Identity is built through repetition. That means choosing the thoughts that serve you again and again, even when the world gives you evidence to doubt them. Especially then, because true identity isn't based on circumstance. It's rooted in vision. Your current reality is simply a mirror of your previous thoughts and beliefs. If you want a different future, you must first think in alignment with that future now, because every change begins in the mind. Before the job offer comes, before the business grows, before the recognition arrives, your identity has to evolve into the person who belongs in that space. This isn't about pretending. It's not about faking confidence or masking insecurity. It's about becoming real, fully aligned with the version of you that already exists within you but has been buried under years of self-doubt, fear, and false narratives. The law of attraction responds to that inner alignment, not your external circumstances. Most people treat emotions like side effects, something that just happens to them in response to circumstances. But emotion is not just a byproduct. It's a signal. It's a frequency. It's energy in motion, shaping the quality of your decisions, the depth of your relationships, and the direction of your life. In the context of the law of attraction, emotion is not only a response to your reality, it is the architect of your reality. You can think all the positive thoughts in the world, but if your emotional state contradicts those thoughts, nothing changes. It's not enough to say, I'm successful. If deep down you feel anxious, doubtful, or undeserving, that emotional disconnect sends a mixed message to yourself, to your actions, and to the opportunities that might otherwise move in your direction. Success doesn't come when you think you deserve it. It comes when you feel like you already live it. Emotion is the glue between your thoughts and your reality. When you feel emotionally aligned with the life you want, you begin to embody that life now, not later. You don't wait for circumstances to catch up. You begin to think, speak, and act from a place of fulfillment, confidence, and certainty. And that's when the shift happens. Most people approach the law of attraction backwards. They believe they'll feel confident once they land the job. They'll feel secure once they have money in the bank. They'll feel worthy once they're in the relationship. But waiting for emotions to come after the fact is a trap. That mindset keeps success at arm's length, always one condition away from being real. The truth is, you have to feel it first. Before the job, the money, the recognition, you have to train your nervous system to live in that emotional state now. That's the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. When your emotional state matches the energy of the future you want to create, you become a match for it. It's no longer something outside of you. It becomes part of you. But emotional alignment requires self-awareness. You have to know what you're feeling before you can change how you feel. You can't pretend to be at peace if you're secretly living in fear. You can't fake joy while harboring resentment. The work begins with honesty, an internal inventory of your current emotional climate. Not to judge it, but to understand it. Once you're aware, you can shift, not through force, but through focus. You shift emotions by shifting attention. If you focus on what's missing, you feel lack. If you focus on what's working, you feel abundance. If you focus on failure, you feel defeat. But if you focus on progress, even the smallest kind, you feel empowered. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It recalibrates your focus and therefore realigns your emotions with a state of abundance. And in abundance, you stop chasing. You start attracting, because now you're operating from fullness, not deficiency. You're no longer seeking success to fill a void. You're creating success because it's a natural extension of who you are. You're not begging for approval or recognition. You're offering value, showing up with energy, and giving generously because you've already decided you have enough to give. Emotional alignment also means managing your state during the in-between, the time when you've set the vision, but results haven't yet shown up. This is where most people fall apart. They lose patience. Doubt creeps in, they start questioning everything. But this space is not evidence of failure. It's a test of alignment. Can you stay in the energy of the outcome even when the outside world hasn't caught up? That's the challenge, holding the emotional frequency of success while living in the middle of uncertainty. But this is also the practice. This is where emotional discipline is built. And the people who master this are the ones who begin to notice a shift. They start seeing synchronicities, new conversations, unforeseen opportunities. What once felt random now feels aligned. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. When your thoughts and feelings match the energy of your goal, you start showing them more closely. You speak more confidently. You connect more deeply. Others notice it. They can't always explain it, but they feel it. That's the hidden language of emotional alignment. It speaks louder than resumes, louder than strategies, louder than credentials. Emotional alignment is not about constant positivity. It's about emotional integrity. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to focus on what empowers you even when life is messy. It's about returning to a state of gratitude, trust, and belief even when results are delayed. That emotional state becomes your home base. And the more time you spend there, the more that emotional frequency becomes your normal. The law of attraction is often misunderstood as a passive process. People imagine they can simply visualize success, speak affirmations into the mirror, and wait for the universe to deliver. But intention without action is a wish, not a strategy. The bridge between desire and manifestation is behavior, and your daily actions are the most powerful proof of what you truly believe you deserve. You can say all the right things, write out your vision, meditate on your goals, feel emotionally aligned. But if your behavior doesn't match, the energy is off. You're sending one message with your thoughts and another with your actions. The law of attraction doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you are, what you do, and how consistently you show up. Taking action isn't just a matter of productivity. It's a declaration. It says, I'm not just interested, I'm invested. And that changes everything. When you move forward, even in small ways, you create momentum. You create clarity. You create alignment. Action tells the universe and yourself that you're not waiting to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. This doesn't mean you need to make massive leaps every day. What matters most is consistency. Small, deliberate actions compound over time. They reinforce your identity. They build belief. They create progress that you can feel. And that progress reinforces the emotional state you need to maintain attraction. Think about someone training for a marathon. The act of running isn't just about building endurance. It's about becoming the kind of person who trains. Each run, no matter how short, affirms a new identity, someone committed, someone disciplined, someone who follows through. That shift in identity makes future actions easier. And the same principle applies to every area of life, business, relationships, health, purpose. When your actions match your vision, it creates harmony. You're no longer working against yourself. You're in flow. But when your actions contradict your goals, you feel friction. You feel guilt. You feel stuck. That's not punishment. It's feedback. Your body and mind are trying to tell you something's out of alignment. And often that misalignment is between what you say you want and what you actually do each day. The key is to shift your focus from outcome to process. Too many people obsess over results. They want to manifest a certain income or status or lifestyle. But the result is not the point. The process is. The process is where transformation happens. The process is where belief becomes behavior. The process is what changes you from someone who wants success to someone who lives it. That's why habits matter. Habits are not just routines. They're rituals of identity. When you write every morning, you become a writer. When you study your craft daily, you become a student of mastery. When you prioritize your health consistently, you become someone who values their body. These habits reinforce the emotional and psychological state that attracts success. There's also a powerful psychological principle at play, cognitive dissonance. When your behavior contradicts your beliefs, your mind experiences discomfort. It wants to resolve the gap. So one of two things happens. You either adjust your actions to match your beliefs, or you adjust your beliefs to justify your actions. If you keep procrastinating, you eventually start believing you're incapable. But if you start taking action, even while unsure, your belief system upgrades to match. This is where discipline comes in, not as punishment, but as evidence. Discipline says, I believe in my future enough to act today, and that kind of belief attracts results. Not because the universe rewards it for it in a linear way, but because you become someone who expects success. You begin to notice possibilities others miss. You begin to speak with conviction. You begin to operate from a place of certainty rather than hesitation. Daily action also teaches patience. It shifts your focus from when will it happen to who am I becoming as I stay the course? That question brings power back to the present. It takes you out of desperation and puts you into alignment. Because now you're not waiting for success to show up. You're practicing being the version of you who's already living it. And that version of you doesn't chase. That version of you attracts through consistency, through clarity, through intentional effort. Not because you're forcing results into existence, but because you're becoming the kind of person who naturally lives at that level. Action becomes your proof, your signal, your anchor. There's a reason why people who practice gratitude tend to experience more fulfillment, more peace, and yes, even more success. It's not just a mindset trick. It's a shift in how you relate to the world around you. Gratitude changes the lens through which you see everything. And in the context of the law of attraction, that lens determines whether you're attracting from abundance or chasing from scarcity. The most dangerous trap is believing that you need more before you can feel more. More money, more recognition, more followers, more validation. But that kind of thinking trains your mind to stay in a loop of lack. Because no matter what you get, it's never enough. You tell yourself, I'll feel grateful once I hit the goal, but the goalpost keeps moving. Gratitude flips that. It says, I'm already enough. I already have enough. And from this place of sufficiency, I can create more. This isn't about settling. It's not about pretending life is perfect. It's about anchoring yourself in what's real, what's present, and what's already working, even when things feel uncertain or incomplete. That emotional posture is powerful. It creates internal safety, and internal safety is the breeding ground for creativity, risk-taking, and alignment. Abundance is not a number in your bank account. It's a state of mind. It's the belief that you are supported, that possibilities exist. There is more than enough to go around. When you believe that, you stop operating from fear. You stop hoarding around, you comparing your journey to someone else's. And most importantly, you stop trying to force outcomes. You allow, you trust. You move forward not from desperation, but from a calm conviction that what is meant for you is already in motion. But here's where the law of attraction gets misunderstood. Abundance doesn't come because you're grateful. It comes through gratitude. It's not a transaction, it's a transformation. You don't practice gratitude to manipulate outcomes. You practice it to change who you are in relationship to the world. And when you shift into that version of yourself, everything else follows. Gratitude enhances awareness. It tunes your attention to notice opportunities, relationships, and breakthroughs you might have otherwise missed. When your mind is busy scanning for problems, you become blind to progress. But when it's attuned to what's working, even in small ways, you build momentum. You start to see that life is already responding to your energy, that you're not stuck, you're shifting. One of the most overlooked benefits of gratitude is its effect on identity. When you're grateful, you act differently. You become more generous. You become more present. You speak with more empathy. You carry yourself with a kind of quiet confidence. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're aware of the value in what you already have. That energy is magnetic. People feel it. They're drawn to it. And that attraction becomes a channel through which more abundance flows. This is especially important when things aren't going your way. When you feel stuck, when progress is slow, when life feels unfair, that's when gratitude becomes your most strategic move. Not because it makes the pain go away, but because it reframes the pain. It reminds you that growth is still happening, even if it's not visible yet. That's something in your life, no matter how small, is still worth celebrating. That mindset sustains you. It protects your energy from being drained by negativity. It helps you hold your vision even when your reality feels out of sync. Gratitude also creates a sense of alignment with your goals. When you're thankful for what you have, you send a clear signal, I trust the process. I believe I'm on the right path. That belief keeps you emotionally connected to your vision. And that emotional connection strengthens the law of attraction. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're magnetizing them. You're not grasping, you're grounded. In practical terms, this means making gratitude a daily discipline. Not just a vague feeling, but a conscious habit. Writing down 3 things every morning. Expressing appreciation to someone regularly. Reflecting on moments of progress, no matter how minor. These practices aren't just feel-good rituals. They're recalibration tools. They shift your state. They bring your emotional frequency into harmony with abundance. Because the truth is, the universe doesn't respond to begging. It responds to belief. It responds to being. And gratitude is the emotional state that says, I already am. I already have. I'm already enough. From that place, success stops feeling like a reward and starts feeling like a natural extension of who you are. There's a subtle force influencing your decisions, your mindset, and your future. And most people overlook it entirely. That force is your environment. It's not just the physical space you live in, but the conversations you hear, the content you consume, the habits of the people around you, and the emotional climate you're immersed in every day. Environment is not neutral. It either fuels your growth or it drains your energy. You cannot rise consistently in a space that contradicts the identity you're trying to build. You can't align with success if everything around you reinforces doubt, fear, and limitation. The law of attraction doesn't only respond to what's inside you. It responds to the signals you receive and respond to externally. And those signals often begin with your environment. We are social beings. Whether we admit it or not, we absorb the energy of those around us. If you're constantly surrounded by people who complain, who make excuses, who see life as a series of obstacles instead of opportunities, that energy seeps into your thinking. You start adopting their language, their expectations, and worst of all, their beliefs about what's possible. Not because you agree, because over time, repetition becomes reality. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off or isolate yourself. It means you need to become intentional. You need to guard your mental space with the same intensity you would protect your home. You don't let just anyone walk into your house and make a mess. So why allow that kind of chaos into your head? Audit your environment. Who do you talk to most? What do those conversations feel like? What kind of content fills your feed? Is it educational, inspiring, empowering, or is it full of drama, fear, and comparison? Every piece of input either lifts your energy or lowers it. And your energy, your emotional and mental frequency is what determines what you attract. Environment doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your behavior. Want to know why some people always seem to make progress? Look at their routines, but more importantly, look at what supports those routines. Do they have accountability? Do they have systems in place that reinforce discipline? Do they place themselves in environments that reward consistency and focus? These are not coincidences. They are design choices. The most successful people don't leave their environment to chance. They design it to align with their vision. Their workspace is clean and focused because clarity outside supports clarity inside. Their inner circle is filled with people who challenge them to grow because feedback is more valuable than flattery. Their inputs, books, podcasts, mentors are intentional because what they hear today shapes how they think tomorrow. This is not just about positivity. It's about resonance. Your environment either matches the future you're trying to create or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, no amount of effort will be enough to overcome the constant friction. Imagine trying to climb a mountain with someone pulling you down every step. That's what it feels like to chase growth in an environment that doesn't support it. And the inverse is just as true. When your environment is aligned with your vision, success becomes smoother. Not easier, but more natural. You start to attract support. You meet people on the same frequency. You have conversations that spark ideas instead of drain hope. You begin to feel like you belong in the life you're building, not like an outsider trying to earn your place. But creating that environment takes courage. It means saying no to distractions. It means setting boundaries. It means choosing silence over noise, depth over surface, alignment over popularity. It might mean letting go of some relationships, not out of anger, but out of respect for your own growth. And it might mean stepping into rooms where you feel uncomfortable because discomfort is often a sign that you're expanding. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start with small adjustments. Clean your space. Curate your inputs. Schedule time around people who inspire you. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate. Set daily reminders that reconnect you to your vision. These changes might seem minor, but they compound. And over time, they shift your baseline energy. And once your energy changes, your results follow. Because the law of attraction is not magic, it's momentum. And momentum begins in the spaces you occupy, the words you absorb, and the energy you normalize. If you want to live a high-frequency life, you have to stop spending time in low-frequency spaces. You have to create an environment where the best version of you is not the exception. It's the standard success is not something you chase. It's something you align with. It's not outside of you, waiting to be discovered. It's inside of you, waiting to be activated. And the law of attraction is not just about vision boards and positive thinking. It's about becoming. Becoming the kind of person who naturally lives at the level you're dreaming of. Not someday, now. It begins with belief. A deep, unwavering belief that success is not reserved for others. It's available to anyone willing to claim it, not with entitlement, but with commitment. That belief clarifies your vision. It sharpens your focus and pulls you towards something greater than comfort or convenience. It becomes your North Star. But belief alone isn't enough. You must embody the identity of that future self now. Your thoughts shape your self-image, and your self-image shapes your decisions. What you think over time becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you attract. Emotion is the currency of attraction. If you feel fear, doubt, or lack, you emit confusion. But if you feel aligned, grateful, and whole, your energy becomes magnetic. The future doesn't come when you finally deserve it. It comes when you become the version of yourself that already lives it. And that version of you acts, not perfectly, not all at once, but daily. Intentionally, because action is the signal that you're ready. Every small step becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. Every repetition becomes evidence of a new identity, and over time, that identity creates outcomes. Gratitude is what keeps your spirit in sync with that process. It reminds you that success is not a distant reward, it's a mindset, it's a presence. And from that presence, abundance flows. You stop waiting for more before you feel fulfilled. You feel fulfilled, and more comes as a result. And finally, your environment either supports or sabotages that alignment. The spaces you occupy, the voices you listen to, the energy you tolerate, it all adds up. If you want to rise, you must design a world that reflects your vision. Because environment shapes energy, and energy shapes everything. So, if you want to attract success, stop focusing on what you need to get. Start focusing on who you need to be. Because once you become aligned with the future you desire, success stops being a chase, it becomes your natural state. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally started living in harmony with who you were meant to be all along,